Hello and welcome to my view from the piano bench. We do this on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. here on my Joel Holt's Notes YouTube channel. In addition to Piano for My Friends every Thursday evening, or most Thursday evenings, every Thursday evening-ish at 7 p.m. Thank you to those of you who support and encourage me via the links available on my support page of my website. The support page of my website, my support page of the website. There. Click on that, and if you have not been to my website before, poke around. Lots going on. For this series, I pick a topic and kind of expound on it with experiences or sometimes musical concepts, but lately more experiences. And there have been a lot of experiences lately. And if you watched last week, you know that I was preparing to be involved in the True Blue Jazz Festival in Rehoboth, and that was now this past weekend, and I'm going away up to Boston area for this coming weekend for a couple of things. So it's right now more than I've been used to lately in the last decade or more. It's a lot more moving around. And I kind of enjoyed the homebody thing. The pandemic was, it was okay for me. And we talked about that a lot if you were with me back then. But the topic today is going to be, with all of that going on, bringing the space with you, or bring the space with you. And when I talk about the space, if you've followed me at all, I'm talking about that creative flow space. I'm talking about the intuitive space, the heart space, the space where creativity happens, the space where joy is generated, the place where love originates, right? And I'm really grateful and thankful that while I'm still here to do some stuff about it, and make some contributions, I have a much clearer understanding of this than I did when I was younger and more musically constipated, which we could talk about in detail some other time. Yes, why talk about constipation when you don't have to? So this past weekend was the weekend of competing jazz festivals in Rehoboth. And I guess that doesn't need to be said in this context, except it is an interesting thing that there are two ongoing jazz festivals. One's been there for like between 25 and 30 years, I think, and the other now for 10. And they represent different angles of approach to jazz festivals, let's put it that way. And my association each year has been with the True Blue Jazz Festival, the one dedicated to the traditions and to passing the traditions along to the young musicians and such. And as I mentioned last week, festivals are all structured differently. This one is one where everything you do is, a gig. And for me, a lot of it is restaurant gigs, but restaurant gigs that are umbrella under the festival. The only show I did, which is the one I'll typically do, which is the Sunday closing brunch show with Eddie Sherman and Peggy Raley, who run the festival and also perform the show. So that, usually two shows, this year it was one, and that's just, a one show, 90-minute thing. And a lot of what the festivals are that I was involved in before were more that one set at a time thing. In fact, you'd be paid for how many sets you worked. This is a little different because you're doing a 3-hour gig here or 4-hour gig there, whatever. And even though most of them were regular, multi-hour gigs, it was still an easy festival as festivals go, because I was there for 3 days and had 4 gigs. And had the good fortune, I don't like that word, had the blessing, had the wonderful circumstance of being able to stay down there where my friend Mike McShane has a little tiny apartment and connected to his shop, over his shop. And I stayed down there. It was great. and had the opportunity to uh, be by myself. I didn't have to interact with people, and until I was ready to go out and do it, right? And I could, spend the time cultivating the space because I'll come out and say it. Many musicians won't. They'll just kind of avoid staying in people's homes because you kind of have to be on all the time, or you have to be, social and or whatever. And nothing against that, but there's, when the creative space is important, you want to be able to just be by yourself and cultivate that space. There's certainly a time to hang with people too. So that's part of the struggle. So that'll make me play this tune. Getting to know you, or getting to know me, or getting to know anything. What key am I in? getting to know you, all well and good. Hey, hi there. Okay, leave me alone now. So, yeah. And the big thing for me is in general, and you've heard me talk about this before, is the routine of practicing in the morning. And ideally, first thing before I interact with anything else. It's a challenge to pull off. And a little bit of a side trip that was on my mind this morning in particular is that first thing in the morning is also a really good time to sit at whatever you use for writing and write. That's when the space is really opened up. That's when you may have just dreamed something that you can recall, or you have more insight because you're coming out of that, lower brainwave intuitive place. But it also postpones, or it puts me in a verbal place, not a musical place. And I feel like, and I keep coming back to that, really I have to choose. And there's more writing that I could do if I were willing to prioritize that at that particular time. But what's really important, and I keep coming back to, because this is what I'm here to do, right? And in order to do this, it just doesn't happen. It's an emotional thing. It's an intuitive thing. It's a feeling thing for me. And so it's a prayer thing, that space has to be open. And so, first thing in the morning, I'll come with the piano. Okay, and I'll let it go. That was slightly, forced because it was a performance, but, when I'm just coming out of that, sleep, stupor, or whatever, just let it happen, right? And, it's really just like working out all of the cobwebs and all the stuff, and eventually it coalesces into something, and that's the beginning of the practice. It's also the beginning of having myself in this space. And the perspective that I embraced a decade or more ago now is that you open that space and then you carry it with you. If you need to go into the performance environment and you never really put yourself in that other space, did the things that flip the switch or clean the carpet or whatever, you're going to be struggling to play. And to some extent, struggle is always there, but the less struggle, the less conceptual confusion there is, the less thinking gets in the way of expression, right? And so that's really important. The first thing I'll do is that. There are other things that I'll do as well, but that thing about actually playing can be challenged when I'm not home, right? And when I go away and stay in hotel rooms, if it's feasible, I'll bring the keyboard up with me, each night or in or whatever, and just use it. My gigging keyboard, but wasn't really feasible in this environment. And there was a, I don't want to say toy, but smaller portable keyboard up in the room. And I figure, okay, that's going to work. And I figure, they'll be okay. Then that first morning I was there Friday night, had a really nice gig. Mike and bass player from Justin Sekaluski, something. And nice guy, enjoyed him, good player. And Sharon. All good, right? And I got a nice sleep Friday night. Get up Saturday, I could not for the life of me figure out how to turn that little keyboard on. So it's like, okay, and I didn't have another portable keyboard with me, and it really wasn't worth all the nonsense to get the keyboard in my car. And then I'm like, okay, plan B. Okay? And I do have to acknowledge right now that uh, I am a creature of routine. Routine is necessary for me because, everything shiny and otherwise is swirling around me all the time. And there needs to be, okay, you're here now. Okay, you're here. And my time management, to the extent that I pull it off, is not about what I'm doing at a particular time task wise. It's about where I'm positioned at a particular time, where those tasks are around somewhere to be grabbed and found. But as long as I'm being productive, right, or moving forward in whatever objective it is, that's a good thing. And like the practice routine, right, in the morning. That's just really, really essential, and to make sure that it gets done. It's not a to-do list check; it's a routine. There's a difference, and I think you understand what I'm trying to say. And sometimes you get kind of just locked into your routines, which is good, right? If it's a good routine, you grow accustomed to the face of the routine. What? Right, let's try it again. I've grown accustomed to the space. I mean, I've grown accustomed to her face, or the face of the space, or something like that. Uh, hmm. So I had this little challenge that first day. Like, yeah, and the more that I go about meeting challenges or fulfilling objectives or tackling a to-do list, without initially kind of opening the space, the more challenging it is. So there is a plan B. There's absolutely a necessity to be involved with the sound, right? But it's also just opening this space. And the little apartment that I was in was almost right adjacent to a walking trail. It's like, man, there was a time, and those of you who are Facebook friends with me on the, profile personal side, will remember, how long was it ago? It started now almost 10 years ago. It started in 2013 when I got my first smartphone and realized I could take pictures with it, right? And so I just started taking pictures. And it was really an exercise in just like feeling the space and feeling, when to hold up the camera and not even look at it, but just to know where to point it, and when the sun rises or the sun sets, or, shadows are nice, or whatever. And it's like, oh, look, Facebook's on my phone. I can post the pictures. And after a couple of months, I started kind of figuring out how to do it, and, knowing how to think about photography a little bit, framing and lighting and, a little bit. And I always use my phone, with a rare exception, and would walk around pointing, taking pictures, but then I would take it a step further and I would kind of curate the pictures-ish and assign captions, or, sayings that I will come from internally. And sometimes I post multiple ones in a day, and that's how I became identified on Facebook for a number of years. And it was after that ended, I don't know what year, when it really started slowing down, 2016, 2017, 2015, is when I realized, walking, getting up early, which I'm not doing at this point, and catching the sunrise every morning is great, but I really need to be here. But that experience, that window of time, that few years, taught me the importance of opening a space. So it's like, okay, let's get to the walking trail, because you're outside with nature, and you have, nature has its own music, right? It's where music comes from, nature, until we screw it up, but that's another thing. And yeah, so you can untangle your mind, you can open up the space, and let me see, there was one other thing I was going to say here. Okay, let's do that now. Because I had mentioned that traveling on the road is a challenge. Festivals are a challenge. And I recall, and I've mentioned this a couple of times in past videos, I recall when the Philadelphia Orchestra, this is pre-pandemic, played the opening gala for Carnegie Hall one year, and my friend Pat Mercury is the on-call, like, auxiliary string player, banjo, mandolin, guitar when the piece calls for it, for the orchestra. And he was called for this gig because Rhapsody in Blue was being performed. And so I learned about it because he posted right before the gig from up there on Facebook, and I paid attention to it. And it was a cool concept where Lang Lang was a pianist booked to play Rhapsody in Blue. He had a student apprentice with him because Lang Lang's either right or left hand was taking a rest for his tendonitis. So he had somebody playing one of his hands, and he had Chick Corea on another piano improvising, right? And, Lang Lang's always coming up with these collaborations with other genres of music. Uh, and he contacted Chick Corea with 2 months' notice to do this. And Chick Corea had not worked up the Rhapsody in Blue. And if he was going to improvise on it, and this is something to take away too. If you're going to improvise on something, meaning you're going to be fluent in expressing yourself within it, you really have to get to know it deeply first, right? And we're talking about now the actual Rhapsody in Blue as played by the orchestra and the piano, and in order to really do it, he had to learn to perform it as if it were straight, so he could depart from it. That might be an impossible mountain to climb for me. I would have to take ideas from it, but he learned the whole thing, and then he learned what to do with it, and he did it exclusively on the road. I think he was over in Europe or somewhere not here for most all of that time, and he says he had to practice on digital pianos in hotel rooms. And it's really like interesting to think about that classical world where no classical pianist ever would work up their performance on a digital piano in hotel rooms, changing from night to night. Nor would they wear what looked like, maybe tennis shoes or something that he was wearing. He wasn't doing the tux thing or anything else like that. He was being himself. And that, you make do. That's sort of the point, And for me, my way of making do on Saturday morning was enjoying that walk. The walks were nice. They were nice. And again, the main objective is to get the space open and go from place to place to place with the space open. And there are, some challenging circumstances that you have to be able to not let them pull you into that. I'm going to use the word emotion in another context, the emotional, tense, stress place. And just because of the nature of the beast, the show on Sunday, late morning, early afternoon in this case, the True Blue Brunch show, is more scripted, and there's, little curveballs that come, and, we're finding out like 15 minutes before what key we're doing, what tune, and I really don't know, and that kind of stuff. So there's a certain sense of you could get really caught up in that. And I was prepared for that. And one of the ways I was prepared was with this. And I'm aware that I have this sloppy thing sitting here, which I try not to. I mean, my whole environment is a sloppy thing, but I don't let you see it. But here, and this is my little pocket metronome. If I take I have it so soft you can't hear it. I have it so soft because it don't work. Wait a minute. Here it is. He's not obnoxious, but it's not so bad in the headphones. And what I'll do, and those of you who see me perform in person, I'm going to walk around because this doesn't have Bluetooth, and I don't have Bluetooth speakers, earphones anyway. I could use the metronome app on my phone if I did. All right, there we go. It didn't sound correct at first. One ear seemed to go before the other, but it's in sync. And I just let this go, and I let this go in the background. And it's one of my practice techniques, and everybody looks at me cross-eyed when I say, yeah, well, it's metronome. Why? You're keeping the beat. You're practicing a tempo. I said, no, it's just in the background. It's just there. It's just allowing me to, stay in that non-linear, non-singularly focused place. So I made sure I got to the venue when I did, set up. I've got this going. I'm having conversations. I'm talking to you, and yes, this is clicking. And let's see. Oh, yeah. And then I forgot it was there, which has happened because I can play with this, going on in my head, not related to what I'm playing. It's actually can be helpful, and I've considered doing this routinely, but I probably want to do it with Bluetooth speakers. I don't know if I really want to, though. That's a work in progress. But what I do know is that this doesn't impede me from playing because there's multiple channels up here. Friend of mine, good friend of mine, describes it as this nonlinear thing where you're on a floor of a building, but you're also like moving between 20 other floors in the same building simultaneously, right? And that's kind of how the creative mind works. So I'm playing the first tune, I'm playing the second tune, I'm about to take my solo, and I'm realizing, wait a minute, this is not a good look. And I'm not sure why I thought that. It might have been better to leave it in my ear, because even though it's not a big venue, so people would have noticed it, but it wouldn't draw attention to itself until I did this. Instead of hanging there, and I kept playing. Because it's sort of like, I really shouldn't be doing this while I'm playing. It says, maybe I could experiment with it, but I mean, this is for, space opening and space management and stuff. But it was actually good. I got a challenge to the space because a few tunes after I yanked these out of my ears, Sherman and Peggy introduced a guest vocalist for a tune who had been played with one of the other bands during the weekend, and that was fine. I knew what tune she was going to do, and as will happen with me sometimes, she comes up to me on stage. I hadn't met her. She tells me her key, and I'm brain farting. I'm just massively brain farting. It's like, wait a minute, autumn leaves. The problem with autumn leaves is that, for me anyway, there seems to be some key ambiguity, or ambiguity with the key, that sometimes with musicians. And like if you're in the key of B flat, which is one of the keys that's often done in, your first chord is C minor. And some people say, well, C minor starts or no, so you got to get through that. And then, of course, I'm saying it's in B flat, but actually, technically, it's in G minor, which is the same key but a different reference point, right? But I always look at it as B flat, right? So I look at all of these as a major key, and I probably shouldn't, but I just get stuck there. And she comes up and says, "Okay, my key is A minor." Oh, I didn't know what to do with it. It's like, wait, what's major? And it was such an idiot thing for me, because it's like, the things that are so obvious are the things that should miss or screw up, or me, talking about me. And I had to actually ask Cody, okay, translate this to a major key for me. He said C. Oh, that's right. Duh. But in the meantime, I kind of frustrated this vocalist, as we're standing on stage for like 20, 30 seconds trying to figure this out because of, and so now that's the kind of thing that can take you out of the space, right? Totally. But nope, she's got to sing. She's got to deal with what I just imposed on her. And I had to deal with whatever I'm dealing with. And then and so she sings. Nice, pretty. I'm playing behind her. I'm not playing a melody right now because I'm imagining her singing. I don't remember particularly being deep in the space, but I don't remember struggling to find it totally either, which was good. Because when a vocalist is singing rubato, I try to match the phrasing, try to hear intuitively when those things are happening. And then, as we had planned, it broke into a bossa. Which is not exactly a bossa, never is for me. It just became this, semi-smooth jazz, And the cool thing was, it just felt really good. But if I didn't have that space open, it wouldn't have felt as good, and I probably wouldn't have been able to help others feel it as good, because that'd be a drag on it, right? And we just went. Mike and I, as we'll sometimes do, just started vamping. And the singer did not see that coming. And she was engaging in it. And she was having fun. And we were just in this nice space, this nice, joy, groove, love, intuitive feeling, not tangled up in the head space, right? And afterwards, she said, "Oh man, I thought we were good at the end. I wanted to just keep going." I'm thinking, well, you should have. We could have stood up here for 3 extra minutes and just vamped on that ending. That's cool stuff. But point being that to simplify it, to just encapsulate it, summarize it, I got to stay out of my own way, even when I was in my own way. Can't tell you how much of a change that is from decades ago. And I was talking to that about that with a pianist, fine pianist, who was down for the festival, and who specifically came to the gig right after the closing show, the brunch show, I mean, where it was understood I was going to be a little late, but it was like stupid late because I didn't really get the car packed up with my keyboard, because there's typically a piano there, but there wasn't this time for different reasons. And I drove over to the other venue after I was supposed to start, right? And with the band, and drummer Mike McShane, who was with me on the show, was trying to set up. He could walk out right away because he had an extra drum set there, but I had the single keyboard. And so I'm like, and I'm just, and it wasn't, I was in this space, but I wasn't in a comprehensive space. When the gig started, he wanted me to do the initial, intros, hellos and stuff. And typically I will, but I handed the mic back and said, I'm not in that spot. I can't do it. Somebody else has to do it. Right? So it was sort of precarious, but, Bob was there, pianist, and it's like, okay, he's come to hear me, and I need to make this happen, and that space, this one, not a comprehensive one at that point, but this space was there. So, and I was able to do what I had to do, and it was really just really cool. And let's see now if I passed up on anything that I meant to say. He says, yeah, because I can't read. So the autumn leaves thing was validated that I could, get back into that groove after being curveball. I'll hustle to another gig, and then, fellow pianists that come to hear me. It's another thing that could have challenged me, challenged the space, and it just stayed there. And that's what made it. I mean, there were other things that made it a beautiful weekend, but that was the biggest thing. Just being able to stay there, bringing the space with you. And I have to think that there's something there that's applicable to everyone. And keep in mind that I liken playing the piano when I'm in the place I need to be to prayer, right? To connecting outside of myself, to seeing the bigger picture, to have awareness of what's around me, which I think in general is like to be human in the best possible sense, right? To get past our egos and to consider others and the circumstances and the contributions you're making, etc. And so, yeah, it was a fun weekend. you go. Take the space with you for what it's worth. So be in touch, stay in touch, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow for piano for my friends.